momento prego, la chiamano per una collettiva. Bleiben Sie bitte am Apparat, Sie werden für ein Konferenzgespräch verlangt. Un instant, s'il vous plaît, on vous demande pour une conversation conférence.
Pronto? Ciao Poppy! Adesso vi passo Chiara!
We're going on a tour around the world. It'll take a bit of time because the world's quite big.
È una conferenza telefonica.
It's a conference call where I give a strong spiritual thought that we can live together. When we call the zones and they answer, "Hello, how are you?" So it's the life of a family. It's wonderful. Its aim is to help us go on a holy journey, a journey towards holiness.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Link Up, or else maybe good morning or good afternoon, depending on what time for a place you're following in. We're in the auditorium at the International Centre of the Focolare Movement in Rocca di Papa, which can finally fill up again after COVID. With us this evening, among others, are the participants of the meeting of animators of the parish movement and diocesan movement, which is taking place at the Mariapolis Centre of Castel Gandolfo. My name is Annalisa Innocenti. I'm a journalist and I work at the movement's communication office. I'm married and I have an 8-year-old son, Francesco. He's here with us, together with my mum. In the previous Link Up, we spoke together about the theme of peace. A few weeks earlier, the conflict in Ukraine had begun, which unfortunately, it's still going on, with its enormous burden of pain. And as well as that, and we want to repeat this again so that we never forget, there are so many other conflicts in different parts of the world. We feel powerless in the face of so much violence, and our hope is wavering. What can we do then? Should we give up? If we're here, I think it's precisely because we want to bear witness that no, we're not giving up. And no is also what Gem Verde says in their latest song, which is called We Choose Peace. That's the title, and now we'll hear how it came about.
People say that we'll never live in peace. It's written on the walls that tell us we are enemies, but I see it differently, so differently.
Hola, welcome.
안녕하세요.
Benvenuti al Gem Verde.
We choose peace. Hey, we choose peace.
We Choose Peace was written thinking of the many wars taking place in the world today, but also the everyday wars in our homes, in our families. We come from many different places, so we're not indifferent to conflicts in our own countries.
I come from Mexico and Nancy from the United States. Our cultures are quite different, and so we can clash at times. For us, living for peace means choosing it every day in the little things that we do each day.
We feel as if we are directly involved in these wars. During the workshops we hold with young people, we see the struggles they face every day with themselves, in their families, with their friends, with their own identity. So in this song, we want to say that peace is a personal choice and that many people are choosing it and are committing themselves to peace in their own lives.
Choisissons la paix. Choisissons la paix.
I am Naya from Syria. My Syria has been suffering for a long time because of the lack of peace and the tension of living in danger of death. In fact, I'm here today only because I survived when a missile struck just a short distance from my house. Other people died. I understood that the only thing that no one can take away from us is hope. Hope in a better tomorrow and that peace is possible. And when I heard that I'd be part of We Choose Peace, I thought that peace in the world comes about when each of us chooses peace personally and tries to build it wherever they are. I have chosen peace. You can choose it too.
So, what's our choice today in the face of the personal and global challenges that we experience? We begin our journey in this link-up with this question, which is like a thread running through it all. Peace is not just the absence of conflict, but it means actively building relationships. It requires looking at wounds, approaching those who suffer, entering into the divisions. This is exactly what the Focolare community of Viña del Mar in Chile is doing. Are you there?
We're here. Hello, everyone. Greetings from the community of Viña del Mar and other nearby towns such as Valparaíso, Concón, Quilpué, and Villa Anamana. The spirituality of the Focolare came here in the 80s. In the year 2020, in the midst of the pandemic, the need arose with the volunteers to go to the aid of needy brothers and sisters, collaborating in a solidarity kitchen that was operating in a Lutheran school. During 2021, the possibility arose to help in another solidarity kitchen in Achapallas, a hill in Viña del Mar, where very poor people live. So the men and women and the volunteers and the whole community joined in this meal service sponsored by the local Catholic parish and with the contribution from the state. We helped to cook and deliver lunch to the people who were hungry. After a short time, we realized that we were running out of resources. So we decided as a community that we should pay for the Saturday lunch ourselves. We've been doing this for several months now, with the challenge of not just delivering food, but building relationships with all of those people who work there, and with the more than 100 people who receive our help, who receive the food. So greetings to everybody.
Thank you for that witness. And also that you're saying hello to us on a Saturday, which is when you're preparing the food. Choosing. That's the key word of this link-up. Choosing. Choosing to live, to build a fraternal world is not something that can be improvised. And we know this well. We need to be formed in a culture of fraternity. And today, the Gen 4, the boys and girls of the Focolare movement, they were the key players in the Global Kids meeting. It was broadcast via the web in 3 moments of the day. Let's see what it is, and we'll start with some pictures.
Siete pronti? Sì! Pronti, partenza, via! great day with Gen 4 from all over the world. It was awesome! We got to know a lot of different cultures. We want to bring love into the world, and love brings peace. We do it by throwing the cube of love. Love everyone. We listen to experiences from Gen 4 from all over the world. I like Gen 4 because we do beautiful activities for Jesus. Jonas from Patagonia reminded us how important it is to care for and look after the environment. One day, he and his family went to the beach and picked up more than 10 plastic trays that the fishermen had used. Now they're using them to make a little garden at home. There were lots of experiences. Many told us how they helped the poor, like Amaryllis from Pakistan, who saw a poor man in need near her house. She sold some of her things to buy him a blanket for the winter. Other experiences were about promoting peace. For example, after seeing children on TV who were suffering because of the war, a group of Gen 4 went to deliver an appeal for peace to the summit of the European Union. We went to Margaret's house. She is the president of the Focolare movement. We asked her some questions and she listened to us too. She said she's counting on us.
It will be like the wave that comes when you throw a pebble into the sea. What happens? There are little circles, then big circles, then bigger circles. I think this is what the love of the Gen 4 is like. You throw a little pebble,
and it gets bigger, and it covers the whole world.
That's right.
Prize came for the Global Kids Meeting, didn't it, Margaret? Let's ask Margaret, who's the president, to tell us what this is. It was a real surprise that we received a letter from Pope Francis. And so I'll read it to you. On the occasion of the event, Bring Love into the World and Peace Will Come, that's organized by the Gen 4 for Children and Adolescents, Pope Francis is pleased to send his greetings to the participants. He expresses his sincere appreciation for this beautiful initiative, and he prays that it brings about in everyone a renewed commitment to place Jesus and his gospel at the center of their lives, so as to be credible witnesses of joy and fraternity. With these good wishes, the Holy Father assures you he will remember you in prayer and he sends you his heartfelt blessing. From Cardinal Pietro Parolin. And here with us are Pep Canoves and Cecilia Gatti, who are jointly responsible for the World Gem 4 Centre. The title of today's event was Bring Love to the World and Peace Will Come. What's behind the testimonies of these children?
Well, first of all, we'd like to thank the Gen 3 boys and girls for their witness. Today, in fact, we received a contribution from the island of Réunion, many other places as well. The assistants, those who accompany these young people in such a way appropriate to each culture, it's indescribable. This kids' meeting showed this. You asked me what's behind this event. This event and many others that we're holding throughout the world. To support them, there are assistants, parents, grandparents, young people, people of all ages and vocations. They accompany these children in a safe way, drawing on all the guidelines for the care and safeguarding of young children. The great thing is that in turn, and behind all of these people, there's always a community which is growing.
One of the aims of this meeting was to give the children a voice, to help adults understand the enormous potential that a child has within them, to respect each one as a person, and to make children and adults realize that it's important to act together. And we realize that children face many difficulties and painful realities: war, poverty, migration, suffering due to the lack of a family. And so these local and global experiences are and will be the basis of their self-esteem. They're the strength to make sense of and to overcome the difficulties they have. And above all, they will help them never to feel alone. In fact, there are few spaces where such small children are welcomed and where they're invited to a personal, deep relationship with God. And this is a reality that's born from the charismatic sensitivity of Chiara, because she always said that the soul is neither young nor old, it's ageless. So thank you. You spoke about animators, about educators. We thought we could interview one of them, Dr. Mario Iasevoli, who's a psychologist and psychotherapist, and he's a lecturer at Sofia University. He's married, he's a father, but until not long ago, he was a Gen 4 and then a Gen 3 until a few years ago. And to show the importance of this period of children growing, and his vocation was born because he was aware of the importance of being a Gen 3 had meant to him.
A few years ago, I was on my way to Naples and decided to stop off in Rome. Unexpectedly, it was there that I was asked to work with the Gen 3 centres, and in particular the Gen 4 centres, in particular for the training of those who accompanied them. I remembered that it was a period of great change, of personal choices I had to make. But I couldn't say no to that invitation. Instinctively, I immediately said yes. And that yes still represents for me the opportunity to give in return with profound gratitude all the love I received as a child and teenager, putting my skills, my professionalism, born of the experiences I had during those years, to whatever use is necessary. And this is what I bring most to my work as a formator and educator today. Then, thinking about what the greatest challenges are, even of educators in the movement today, it's difficult to answer in a precise way, but in a few words, I think it's to promote and spread a new culture of childhood, of adolescence, starting by changing our outlook towards these two age groups. This is certainly a long process, but it can no longer be put off. The role of the community is decisive, especially when it recognizes itself as an educating community. As you know, promoting and safeguarding the well-being of children and young people is a primary objective that the movement has set itself. But which happens if the whole community is aware of it, responsible for it, and engaged in it? From a psychological point of view, we can say that the quality of the experiences that the environment offers children and young people is decisive for their growth. In this sense, the community is understood as a place of encounter, of interaction, of relationships, where children and young people can experience themselves and the other. At the same time, the community represents the main factor in promoting the development of the person, of any person, also adults, in all of our dimensions, cognitive, affective, relational, our identity. It is at the same time an important influence for the prevention of problematic tendencies, and often even those of a psychopathological nature. My greeting comes with a passionate invitation to see children, young people, and indeed all of us with new eyes, and to commit ourselves to recognizing ourselves as a community that educates. Greetings to everyone.
Part of the educational path for children and young people is also the competition for schools that was organized by the Chiara Lubich Center. It's in its second year for Italy and for Italian schools around the world. And it's organized in collaboration with the Italian Ministry of Education. But who knows, maybe in the future it might also be launched in schools in other countries. The competition for schools throughout Italy is now in its second year, and it's reached schools of all levels, including primary schools from all regions of Italy.
Provenienti da tutte le regioni d'Italia.
From north to the south of Italy, and it seems to us that they achieved the very aim of this competition, which is to get to know the person of Chiara Lubich, her commitment and her witness in building peace and fraternity among all peoples, and unity among peoples.
We began to help our neighbor because it improves us. It makes us happier. It makes us more human. And this was, I think, what Chiara Lubich wanted to achieve. You can see that this work, these contributions have a great deal of research and passion behind them, and the joy that's also affected us.
The artworks were carried out in various ways, both by individuals and groups. Sometimes classes from different schools worked together, and they enjoyed themselves in producing their art in various different ways.
One group, for example, was involving the whole town to some extent. They involved the radio station, the newspapers, because they created an economy of commuting company within the school. And they also tried it out for a few months. And the website they created is already the result of the activity of this company, created precisely to be an economy of communion business.
All these works, together with many other documents and materials on Chiara Lubich, can be found on the brand new website, www.chiaralubich.org. It's online as of today. So let's go back to the subject of choices. We make them all the time. Often they're made up of small but important gestures. Other times they're decisions that change our lives forever. This was the case for Josef, whose story we'll hear now. Carlos Mana from the communications office went to Vienna to meet him.
Vienna, one of the great European capitals, rich in culture and history. We came here to meet Josef.
In questo focolare specialmente mi sento molto al mio agio perché
In this focolare, I feel very much at ease, and I love to be traveling. We're so different. At times it is challenging. I must admit that sometimes I feel, come on, that's enough. Then we manage to start again.
Josef is originally from the Czech Republic, born during the communist era into a farming family. He's a focolarino, that is a consecrated member of the Focolare movement, who lives in a small community with Nino, who's Italian, and Victor from Venezuela. He studied civil engineering, but in Vienna, he found a job as a delivery man.
I ride my bike to restaurants and take food to customers.
mi trovo molto bene perché andare con la bicicletta è per me anche mi piace tanto.
I really like it because I love cycling very much and I can organize myself. Work maybe 4 or 5 hours a day. I can do up to 60, 70 kilometers a day. One thing I really like is that I can get inside these beautiful buildings in Vienna. Inside they are really, really special and I like architecture.
Josef's Focolare has a mission. Like every Focolare, its doors are open to everyone, but in particular to young people.
Here we started a new experience of Focolare that is open especially to young people who are sometimes in search of a vocation, but also perhaps in search of themselves. With every young person who comes here, the whole Focolare changes. There is a new approach, there are new ways of doing things. I like that. We have met young people with so many talents, and if they manage to share them in any vocation, yes, even as Focolarini, they feel that they can be a fulfilled person in the Focolare. They discover what they have inside, what God has given them, and that they can connect this with the charisma of unity, which is a beautiful thing, as I think many of us have also experienced.
How did you come up with the idea of consecrating yourself to God? Why did you choose the Focolare?
We were in a group of young people, Gen. Together we were looking for a vocation. We were invited for a mountain holiday. And there, in that environment, with other young people, we really lived something strong. There I went up a mountain alone, and I felt that I had to pray, that I had to talk to God. But then I felt that He was the one speaking to me in silence. I could almost hear Him with my ears. For me it was clear that it was a call to the Focolare. I couldn't imagine any other way, although it is true that at that time I was in a relationship with a girl. But then I felt it wasn't the right moment anymore for that. I've been through a lot of good times, yes, but also a lot of challenges.
Dopo qualche anno che vivevo già in Focolare, per caso...
After a few years of living in the Focolare, I happened to meet that girl I had left. And gosh, she still wasn't married. I felt very comfortable with her, so I said to myself, maybe I've got it all wrong. Could I still get married? I was still quite young. I began to doubt so much that I was already convinced that I should leave the Focolare because I was really attracted to creating a beautiful family.
Sono arrivato in Focolare deciso.
I came to the Focolare,
Ma non c'era nessuno.
determined to say this, but no one was home. And there was a bit of a mess in the house. So I started tidying up, cleaning the bathrooms. And while I was doing this act of love, you can say, I realized that what I felt before was not true. Jesus in the midst, who was present in the Focolare, is something for me more than natural love. I felt a restart. I want to live for everyone.
And you're happy in the Focolare?
Sì.
Yes.
Even choices made once and for all need to be renewed and deepened to give value to moments that we might have taken for granted. This was the case in the lives of Vic and Vicky from the Philippines, starting with their wedding day.
Hello everyone. We are Vicky and Vic from Manila, Philippines. We have 4 children who are all working now. We are expecting our first grandchild soon. I worked as a banker for 36 years, and Vic worked as a professional mechanical engineer in the field of construction. Having both retired last year, we now work with the International Secretariat of the New Families Movement. We got married on December 2, 1989, a day after the biggest coup d'etat in the history of our country. Imagine our concern with all the wedding preparations at that time. Well, we managed to get married in a very simple ceremony. But after 2 days, the situation improved and we repeated the ceremony. But this time with all our guests present to witness the renewal of our vows.
If you want to know more about how our adventure went, read our story. In this book, Families in Action, A Mosaic of Life. Here you can find experiences on how families from all over the world lived Amoris Laetitia. This book is published by Città Nuova, Italia, in time for the World Meeting of Families that will be held in Rome, together with Pope Francis from June 22 to June 26, where the new families will participate. The book will also be released soon in other languages. Ciao!
The book, entitled Families in Action, A Mosaic of Life, of which they spoke, contains 55 stories of families committed to living and witnessing to the authentic love of the gospel in the face of the many challenges of the present, from the ordinary to the strong, painful ones. But let's now hand over to Magdalene of South Korea and her story.
I was just like any other person. I wanted to form a beautiful family and continue my career as an illustrator, also with my husband's support. I live in Seoul, Korea. I work as a magazine illustrator, I have 2 children, and I've been married for 34 years. I met the Focolare movement when my daughter was 5 years old. We took part in the life of the movement, and we didn't have any family problems until my daughter started secondary school. My husband worked for a television company. At some point, due to the stress of his job, he started betting on horse races. At first it was just for fun, but as time went on, it became a serious addiction. He went so far as to mortgage our house and take a loan from the bank without me knowing. Within the Catholic Church, I got to know a rehabilitation group for people with addictions. For 3 years, every week I accompanied my husband to those meetings, but I realized that the situation wouldn't change immediately. My husband, who was feeling guilty about the family situation, went to live on his own. In the meantime, we continued attending the new families meeting, but there wasn't much change in my husband because he couldn't open up. The people who were responsible understood the situation and told me about the meetings for separated people.
어느 날 이렇게 끼아라 묵상 중에 끼아라 그랬어요.
One day, I found one of Chiara's meditations in which she said, "If one leg gets injured, the other one must get stronger." I said to myself, "But Chiara, I feel I lost both legs. It was so very painful, having to be both mother and father to my children." I was working freelance. I didn't have a steady income, so I had to work very hard. I felt I had to be financially independent. It was very difficult at times when I wasn't able to concentrate on my work. Now, looking back, it seems a miracle that I was able to paint anything in that situation. One day, I went to Mass at a hospital near where I live. I met someone who's responsible for the new families, and she invited us to her home, together with her husband. She accompanied me with much love in silence, taking me by the hand and always welcoming me with the same smile. Their presence gave me so much strength to go on. I used to hate my husband. One day, as if by a miracle, I understood that God's love for him was greater than mine. And thinking about this, the hatred disappeared. Now I accompany 7 people in a similar situation. We have a regular monthly meeting, and we're also in touch via Zoom.
고등학교 1학년 아들이 있고요. 지금은
I have a son in the first year of high school. I'm a general practitioner. 9 years ago, I divorced my husband after a series of disagreements. In Korean society, even my own family was very perplexed by this situation, and they worried about how other people would treat me. Often, the way others look at me makes me feel I'm a bit strange. Once, my son and I went to a seaside resort for the holidays. When we went into the restaurant, I could feel all the people there looking at us. It was a family restaurant. We were a special case of a single mother with a young child. I couldn't free myself from that feeling, but perhaps by meeting people in the same situation as me,
in accompanying these people, I remember with gratitude the look in the eyes of those who welcome me with love, listening to me without judging during my most difficult moments. With their support, I felt like a wet cloth gradually drying in the sun. I think it's very important that we meet in God. In Him, each of us stands firm, and we can do other good things. We can love others. We can give. Now, I feel that all the pain I experienced has become like a gift for the people I accompany, to understand and console them as best I can. Suffering can be lived as a gift for ourselves and for others. Chiara Lubich experienced moments of great darkness in her life. For her, suffering had a face and a name. Let's see her in a recording from 1976.
I read a writing of mine which you too may have read. It's short and says, Jesus forsaken, embraced, held tightly to oneself, consumed in one with us, we consumed in one with him, made suffering with him, suffering. This is how you become God, love. Those words touched me in a special way because I wrote them during a time of great light. So I wrote things greater than I could actually live, or if I did live them, it was as a young person. The more I go ahead, the more I discover their value and depth. I liked it very much, and the Holy Spirit made me focus on this point of not being two of us, me and Jesus forsaken, that is me and the suffering I experience, me and the doubt I have, I discovering him little by little, embracing him, saying to Jesus, taking time, no, at once. Made suffering with him suffering, wanting that alone. This is how you become God, love, love. Then I had just received a card from Lopiano in which Father Mario Strada had sent me, as well as his letter, a few photos of his new little church at Capiano, I think. There were photos of beautiful frescoes. One of them had this sentence written beneath it. Nox mea, my night, obscurum non habet, my night has no darkness. I was very happy about this, as though the Lord had sent it to me because, as I said, this is what I want to live. As soon as the suffering arrives, I must embrace it so quickly. I must hold it tightly to myself, consume it in one. Made suffering with him suffering, this is how you become not suffering, but love God. I've seen, Jen, that living this all day long is like a tonic of the ideal that you can't imagine, unimaginable, because you start in the morning. You might be a little tired. You didn't sleep well, perhaps, so tiredness, amazing. My night has no darkness. This suffering doesn't exist because I love it. I get up and I might hear about some problems at once. Someone says, Chiara, I need to tell you something. I say within, fantastic Jesus, here we are. I embrace you, hold you tightly, made suffering with you at once. My night has no darkness, and this all day long. I believe that we can progress spiritually more in a week by living this one thing than in months and months living in other ways. And this applies to all sufferings. You're suffering because your feet hurt, you're feeling the cold, someone spoke a bit unkindly, you suffer about something you have to do, you suffer at once. This is the way, so that we can always proclaim, when we go to bed at night, Jesus, my night had no darkness. That you can say, and now God must confirm this, that it is no longer we who live, but it is love that lives within. It is God who lives within.
My
night has no darkness, Chiara said. We've also referred to moments of darkness tonight. We've spoken of them, the sense of helplessness in the face of wars and violence. We've spoken about the challenges in society and in families. Also, the church is going through some painful and dramatic experiences, and also the movement. If you were to choose a few key words to describe this, how to live this well, what would they be?
After hearing Chiara, there's no need to say anything. If I had to choose a word for this time, I would say faith or fidelity. Something related to these, all those that carry the root fidelity, which is very ancient, has the meaning of trusting, believing, relying. So I think this is really important in troubled times like we are living, both ourselves and the church. We feel that God is almost behind a cloud and we don't see him. I feel that God is speaking to me now like that, and with such strength here, like never before. We need faith, faith in the other, faith in humanity, faith in the church, faith in the charism, faith in the movement, faith in God above all. This is the first word. The second word I would choose is unity. Not just a fake unity, a plastic unity, as one of our great psychologists used to say. His biography has just come out recently, Egidio Santanché. Not a unity of this kind, a deep unity, a true unity. And I'd like to cite, to quote, a concept of Dietrich Bonhoeffer, the Lutheran theologian. He said that only Christ's community, Christ in the community, Christ, the basis of the community, can carry the guilt of the community. Only him. He carries the fault of the community and redeems it on the wood of the cross. And we have to do everything to enable this work of Christ to happen. It's in Psalm 146. The Lord will build Jerusalem again, will heal broken hearts, binds up all our wounds. Faith, therefore, and unity, these two words.
And going ahead, thinking of this moment, I want to ask Margaret, it's a year and a half since your election, and so much has happened during this time in the world, in the church and the work, joyful things and sad things as well. How would you assess this period? And how can we look to the future? How are you living these things? That's a deep question. For me, this year and a half, I can say it's been a very rich period, full of many graces and many joys. It's been a beautiful year for the church because we've begun this synodal process, and I think I can already see fruits all over the world because of this synodal journey that we're all involved in, also as movement, but also as dioceses and parishes with many people. And then for the movement, it's enough to look at this link-ups that we've had this year, to give grace, to give thanks to God for the many gifts, the many joys, the many conquests. Today, looking at the Gem 4, I thought what hope there is in the world and for the future. But also, like you said, Annalisa, there have been sufferings and challenges. We're still living this war in Ukraine, and it's bringing great suffering. But also the pandemic isn't over. So many people have died, people close to us. How many people we've lost in the movement. And then I've always believed and I've always seen that the Focolare movement is like a huge tree full of fruit, and it stretches out to the whole world. It's really big. And I thought, in these months I was looking at this tree, maybe with my human eyes, and I could see it. It was suffering a little bit, this tree. A bit dry, maybe. And it was like a tree that's been pruned. But Beyond that, I could really see also in my garden, there's lots of trees and they're just, not just bringing out leaves, but they've got deep roots. And I thought, yes, a tree that's been pruned, but it's got deep roots under the ground and it's waiting for new fruit, to be able to bear new fruit. So I can see things this way. And all of this, I feel I want to thank God for this, and above all, for all the beautiful things, but also the painful things, all the challenges that exist. They're part of humanity. But also to thank the Holy Spirit, who guides us step by step in what we have to live. And we realize that we're weak, we're fragile, but we really need the help of everyone. And so I think it's a very special year in our life. And for me, something that's really helped me recently, it's a thought that I did meditation one day, and this thought really helped me to look at things with different eyes from the way I was living them. It was a meditation where Chiara said, among other things, the cross is the root of charity. With it, we've got a solid life, well-rooted, protected against all the storms. It won't be changed. With this, we can walk safely, securely. The cross will purify us, and it will make us suited to take the kingdom of God to people, because this has to be paid just as we have to pay to be generators of Christ among us. God wants us to be little saviors who look at the evils of the world in the face and they bring a remedy to them. That no, they haven't come for the healthy, but for the sick, not for the just, but for sinners and those who are far from God. For me, this thought was a great light. And it was very strong because I thought, really, this is true, that maybe it wasn't the year when I had to look just at joys and conquests and all the beautiful things that have been happening in the movement all over the world, but I had to look at those evils that exist and bring a remedy, be close to people who are suffering. I said, maybe it wasn't a year when I made many journeys. I've been here most of the time, but it was the year when we wanted to be close to those who are most in need in this moment. And so I felt it was in consonance with Chiara's just said, my night doesn't have darkness. And so I want to look at the future with great hope. But I wanted to say this to you. I wanted to share this with you all, that we're all in this together. We're all protagonists for a future that's full of hope. But it all begins from this root, which is the cross, which is charity. Charity is there. Real charity is there. The exquisite charity is there in the cross that hopes everything, that believes everything. I think we can go ahead together with this hope that also Jesus said, this faith, this hope and this new unity that we want to give to the world. So we hope that we can all be like this. We can be worthy to be instruments of God in the world. And I wish you all a happy Feast of Pentecost. Thank you. Thank you also for this greeting. And so we close this link up now. It's a link up that you can watch again on the YouTube channel. And later there'll also be the translations on there. Then the next link up will be in October. We'll go through a few months because in part of the world it's the summer break. But in spite of that, there'll be many events taking place during this period. And for example, we heard you're going to Turkey now to participate in the 5th Halki Summit. It's called Sustaining the Future of the Planet Together. It'll be a beautiful moment to be in Istanbul for this meeting, for this summit, but above all, to meet again Patriarch Bartholomew in Constantinople. So we're going with Jesus, counting on your unity and prayers, that you accompany us in this journey, and we'll also meet with the little community that's there in Istanbul, and we'll take your greetings to all of them. And so these moments that you live there, we want you to keep an eye on the site of the Focolare, www.focolare.org, and there will be the news of Margaret's journey and lots of other things, so we can go ahead as this worldwide family. Thank you, Margaret. Thank you to everyone for this moment. Ciao to you all.